Hello and welcome to Cash Chats, the podcast from Be Clever With Your Cash that helps you make the most of your money. I'm Amelia Murray.
And I'm Andy Webb. Some of the stories we're looking at in Your Money this week include the new merger from Three and Vodafone, what that might mean for your mobile service. Should you worry about spending at Christmas? Plus, actually, was Black Friday any good? We'll take you through our analysis. All of that and our deals of the week in episode 441 of Cash Chats.
So Andy, Black Friday, Tell me about it.
Yeah, I think this was probably one of the worst Black Fridays for money saving since we came over here.
Massive statement.
Yeah, I think it was. There were still endless number of promotions and deals out there, and I'm sure many of you guys listening or watching this right now, you maybe had a look at some stuff. Maybe you bought some stuff. We shared our tips to how make sure you didn't get overwhelmed by it and didn't spend money that you couldn't afford. But one of the things I always think makes Black Friday stand out compared to other sales are the extra discounts, particularly when it comes to cashback sites. An extra £10 here, an extra double cashback here, and those things were there, but there were fewer of them. And then going through to other places just didn't strike me as particularly anything special out there. But obviously, as we always say with those things, if there's something you wanted at a good price, it's a good time to buy. But yeah, generally I think it was quite a disappointing one. And last year's wasn't great either. So it does feel like maybe this is diminishing returns. I mean, did you spend much? Did you do anything?
So I've spoken about Black Friday on the podcast before and my absolute cynicism towards it. And it's almost like I'm not getting involved. However, I did need a bit of a big ticket item.
Right.
So I was after a vacuum cleaner, Hoover, whatever you call it. And so I had my eye on a shark one. I was like, you know what? I'm sick of Hoovers aren't cheap.
No.
But I was like, I feel like I'm not spending enough because I always get rubbish ones. So I was keeping my eye out like the weeks before Black Friday. I was kind of benchmarking prices. I knew how much I wanted to spend. And I also was aware about some upcoming top cashback deals to kind of make it better for me. However, it didn't go as planned. So bless him, I have introduced my boyfriend to top cashback. He was very excited, but basically I was also working in my favor. So I referred him to get, you do the referral as the kind of the user, you get the bonus, they get like a tenner, you get £35 when they get £10 cashback. So I was like, okay, this is great. So win-win. And then 25% cashback from Shark.
Yeah, it's one of those deals I mentioned which do help a huge amount of already discounted prices if they're there.
So I was like, to my boyfriend, I was like, I've got to go to band practice, buy it now or wait until I'm back. I got back home and he was like, you're going to be so impressed by me. I was like, tell me what? He's like, I signed up for the Shark News as a new customer for Shark and I got 10% off. Extra. And then he's like, but I didn't get any cash back though. And I was like,
bless him.
I was like, we should have had a dummy run or something. So as you probably know, you kind of can't use both. So you can only use the top cashback code usually, not the retailer's own discount code. You can't stack them. So unfortunately, we got 10% off rather than the 25, and I had to take a deep breath, and it was so annoying. But we have the Hoover, and we got a discount. But yeah, he's learned. We've learned.
I mean, this is interesting. It's one of those things when we talk about the cashback sites. I'm a big fan of cashback sites. They have saved me or made me thousands of pounds, I would say, over the last 10, 11 years since I've been using them. So that's money I wouldn't have had otherwise. But I do get why people get annoyed with them or confused by them. So I think it's when you do start using them, just understanding how they work, the rules around them. For example, making sure you close the window if you've got it open before you go on the cashback site. It's got to be the last click through. And then also that stacking of deals. Like sometimes you can stack a voucher code. I would definitely say it's worth putting in a claim. You never know. They might come back. They probably won't. They might come back. But sometimes you can stack them. Sometimes you can't. And sometimes it works the other way around. The voucher code is higher. And it's better to do that than the cashback site. But it's good though. I think everyone's got their starting point. The fact that he's come along, he's doing that now. That's going to be.
And he's so excited for Christmas. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he'll be making money on every single thing he buys.
Well, that was good. That was your big Black Friday purchase. I did buy some stuff. There's a restaurant, a small chain in London called Bao, which if you live in London, you've not been, you really should. It's fantastic. It's amazing Korean fried chicken. It's amazing. They were doing, if you buy a gift voucher for 25 quid, you get a free Bao as well. So I'm going to go and eat there at some point anyway next year. That's a win for me. So I've got a couple of those. And I don't know what else I got. I didn't get much else. Nothing major. There wasn't much I needed either. But
Mm.
there wasn't like the little things I did want. I wasn't sure about. But yeah. But while we're talking about Black Friday, it's worth also talking about returns, because if you have bought something that you regret because maybe you got caught up in the hype, or maybe you spent more than you kind of really can afford, then maybe it's worth sort of going over your rights to return, because there's still always a lot of confusion with this, I think. The big reason about whether, if you've changed your mind on a product, if you can return it or not, really comes down to where you bought it. Now, if you bought it in store in a shop, there is no legal right at all for them to give you a refund. It will vary from retailer to retailer. So you have to kind of, ideally, I always check this before I make a purchase. If there's something I think I might not keep it, just so I know what they are. But if you've got something now, see what they say. We know that most places are happy to do this, but you might find they say no refunds at all, or they might only give you a credit note for spending store at a later date. So that's something to think about. There is no legal right if you bought it in the UK if you have changed your mind. Online is a different matter though. You've got 14 days, as long as it hasn't been customized or is shippable, you've got 14 days to tell them that you're going to return it, and then you've got another 14 days to actually return it. And this is the law. They have to allow you to do this. So in that case, you can do that, but they might charge you to send it back. That's if you've changed your mind. Okay, that's a really important thing. There is a distinction though, because if the thing is faulty, it's not right for whatever reason, and that doesn't include it being the wrong size. Okay, it has to be actually broken. Then you've actually got 30 days to return something, whether it is in store or online. No questions asked. As long as it is broken. They look, this isn't faulty. They have to give you the money back. After 30 days and up to 6 months, then the first thing they have to do is offer you a repair or a replacement. If they can't do that, then they have to give you a refund. Now, so for immediate purchases you've got right now, they're the kind of most things to bear in mind. If something is older than 6 months, so I bought it 6 months ago or before that, or in 6 months' time, and it breaks, then the onus is on you to prove that it was a manufacturing defect rather than wear and tear. So that makes it a lot harder to get any kind of refund or compensation. But it's certainly worth thinking about the stuff. If you have spent a lot of money over the last few weeks, and maybe it's too much, or things you don't think you actually need or use, think about taking it back. Really important thing, of course, is you need your receipt. If you're taking it back in store. Online, you've got all that emails, hopefully, and they might also want the original packaging, both online or in store.
And this is very useful with Christmas coming up as
Yeah.
well, although of course it's going to be different because you're going to be receiving gifts, so you're not buying stuff for yourself. However, you might have relatives who are quite canny with this kind of thing, or maybe a bit insecure that they're not buying you the presents that you want. They might include the gift receipt. Now, the tricky thing here is, if you go into a shop with a gift receipt, it's kind of unlikely that you're going to get a cash refund, because what normally happens is the refund is paid to the original payment method, isn't it? So I've kind of looked into this before, and how it is quite difficult, navigating the cash refund when it comes to gifts, but you can probably get an exchange, or a voucher, or kind of something, to the value of what you don't want. But do be careful here. There is a sensitive aspect to returning presents. Yeah, I've upset some people in the past, and my family had kind of terrible for it. But yeah, it's kind of, there is the kind of protection there. I think if someone has bought you, for example, I think Amazon's quite good with returning gifts. They actually have like a special gift returning section that you can actually return the gifts without the original buyer knowing. So yeah, approach with sensitivity, I'd say. But on the subject of Christmas, there was a story in the Mail about how expensive Christmas outings have become. So they looked at all the different things you might want to do with your family this Christmas. So your local Santa's grotto, Christmas lights display, a pantomime, a family theatre show, and they have added them all up across the country, and it comes to over £500, which is more than a city break to Europe. So it's got really expensive. I mean, it was, it was getting there for a while, but what they were saying was parents are feeling under increasing pressure. We have the cost of living crisis on one hand, we have social media. They made this big point in the article about parents feeling under pressure because, of targeted adverts, firstly on social media, but also other parents or influencers showing these kind of dreamy Christmas exciting scenes. And I think, looking into this, there was another article that I contributed in Stylist last week as well, which was about the cost of Christmas socializing and how, are we kind of being priced out? Is this what FOMO is costing us?
Yeah.
And essentially, Christmas is a celebration, but you don't need to spend loads of money. So there are lots of kind of often free local events, carol concerts, even just wandering around the town, looking at the lights, and keeping an eye on that, because I think we do feel under pressure. No one wants to be a Scrooge, do they?
No.
But actually, like £500, and that's, I mean, realistically, who is doing all of those things? I mean, are you going to a pantomime and just in that wasn't what I was doing for my family Christmas when I was little. But the fact is that, these companies are charging these amounts, and, you want to show your kids a good time, but actually they might be just as happy with, a hot chocolate in a flask and seeing the carol singers.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we've obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, I mean, you probably can't tell, but we're going to. I've got like a festive jumper on. You've got festive kind of.
I'm a Christmas angel.
But we're off to the Be Clever Your Cash kind of Christmas dinner later on today. And this is just one thing. Obviously, you've got your work thing, but then if you've got one group of friends, another group of friends, you've got family stuff, these things can all quickly sort of add up. Plus, you might want to do some other kind of things just in a relationship or whatever it is. It can be a lot of money on top of all the other very expensive things happening right now. So, yeah, I think it's about being conscious in what you are able to spend. I know we say this a lot. I know it's common sense, but it's easy to kind of get caught up in that and say FOMO, that fear that you're going to miss out on some amazing thing. And if things are too much, have that conversation and find exactly what you said, those cheaper or free alternatives, which still get you together, still nice and festive and fun. But, and other people may be in the same situation, they'll probably be happy with that rather than yet another going out for another sort of turkey dinner in a restaurant with each group of friends and it really mounting up. Christmas is really, really close, getting here soon. So the next talk about involves cash. So cash is dead. That's a story we keep hearing again and again, isn't it? With more and more people moving on to cards and contactless or even just using their phone. But actually the story that came out this week is around some data from the British Retail Consortium. And they're saying that the use of cash is up this year for the second year running. Now, 1/5 of transactions are using cash. And this is bucking a trend that we've seen over the last decade where it's been gradually going down and down and down and down. And this is around, they say a big part of this is down to budgeting. People using cash because it is, and I think, this is absolutely the case. It is one of the best ways if you are trying to really keep track of your spending is to use cash. And that seems to be the big reason people are doing that. And this obviously, I guess, of the last 2 years, that would suggest that's kind of a knock on in large parts because of the cost of living crisis and the inflation and people really having to pay attention to where those pennies and pounds go much, much, much more.
Yeah, I think it's a curious one because I think there's a real divide with cash use and how we approach it. So, for example, cash is terrible for me. I lose it, I spend it, and it's like it's almost become obsolete. And perhaps like lots of other kind of millennials or Gen Zs, it's sort of the kind of the tangible value isn't really there. Whereas if I have the notifications on my card transactions through my app, I'm like, oh, I'm aware. I can keep the running total, and for me, that's the visual record of my spending is a lot more useful for me. However, I do see where it has its use. As a non-cash user, it really pointed out like some quite serious examples of people who do rely on cash, and not just for budgeting. We also hear about older people who they've used it all their life, and that's what they're used to using. People with mental health issues who find it easier to use cash, but also women escaping abusive relationships. And and they made this point in the article of not being tracked and being able to get on with their lives and spend money and buy things without their partner being able to access their transactions and know where they are, which is something we might not consider on a day-to-day basis. And they were saying in this article as well, perhaps more rural communities or smaller towns where if there's one cafe in the town and they're saying sorry, we don't accept cash, what else are you supposed to do? Where else are you supposed to go? And they were saying leisure centres, parking services, catering on trains, lots of businesses are now going cash free. And and as I said, as a non-cash user, I can easily kind of manage that. But there should always be the choice, and just to completely cut it off without considering the people who it's really necessary to is out of order.
Parking's a nightmare, isn't it now? I mean, like half the time you need an app, you can't even use your card. And if you haven't got a signal, you don't have the app, you've got to download it. I've had situations there where it's been an absolute pain. So yeah, it's always a concern, maybe if not individually, but we know for wider groups, that decline in the availability of cash or being able to use it in places, it is going to have an impact. And I do think, what you were saying there about the notifications coming through on your phone, I think that is a great tool, and it is a really good way to actually see what you're spending. But I remember years ago now, maybe 5-6 years ago, I'd gone to America, and the places there were a bit behind us. They didn't have contactless there, whatever it was then. It was still much more using cash. So I was having to, and every time obviously I had a limited number of dollars on me as well. Every time I handed the cash over, it made me think so much more about what I was spending. Whereas with the card, doesn't matter how savvy you are, doesn't matter how much money you've got or not got in the bank. If you're just tapping, it's easy to be a bit more nonchalant about it. So yeah, I certainly think for anyone who hasn't gone back to cash, who is struggling with budgeting or just wants to get a better sort of sense of their spending, it's definitely worth giving it a go. But at the same time, keeping the track of it is also a useful thing in the background. So if you are going cash, maybe try and make a paper note of it, or make a note on your phone of what you're spending, because that means you can go back and review it after a couple of weeks or so and really see where the money is going en masse and look for those patterns. Mortgages.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one.
Yeah, so this was a story in the BBC, and it is suggesting that 2 in 5 new mortgages, which is more than 1 million in the past 3 years, have terms that see homeowners still making payments in retirement. So this is around the ultra long or extended mortgages, which have become, popular during a time of economic uncertainty because they allow you to spread the costs further. So essentially, the monthly payments are becoming more affordable. However, in the long run, they're going to be more expensive. And the issue which people are bringing up here, the concern is being sparked around retirement. So when you're on a limited income anyway, is your pension going to cover these? It makes up most of our outgoings each month, doesn't it? The mortgage repayments, and what that means for people's financial planning and how they are going to afford this once they stop working.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I got first bought a house, I actually got a 30-year mortgage. But why I did that was with the intention, because obviously the longer the mortgage is, the lower your monthly repayments are. But I did that with the intention that I was always going to overpay. So it gave me that sort of flexibility in the longer term. So in theory, if something did happen, I would have a bit more time, reduce my payments. But always very aware of that I did not want to be having, because that was probably would have taken me into my 60s or something like that. So with that risk of you don't know where you're going to be. So the more and more people taking this on, and with probably quite high mortgages based on where things have been over the last few years, and the way house prices are going on, that could cause all sorts of problems. And the difficulty you get then is if you need to remortgage, because remember that's the whole term you're borrowing for. It's not the actual deal. You're looking to try and remortgage and get another deal in your late 50s, early 60s, 70s, maybe, it depends when you took it out. That might be harder for you because you're older and they're going to be so struggle. Where's the money going to be coming from? So then you might have access to fewer deals. So yeah, it's certainly not something to enter into lightly.
Yeah, I did a similar thing with my mortgage, which I mentioned a few weeks ago on the podcast, which is I really wanted to shave years off the term, but that would have taken way more paperwork, way more time and admin. But the mortgage broker was like, he said exactly the same thing. He was like, look, just because you have this, it's not even that, relatively not a long term, but I was just like, no. I want progress. I want to shave it down. And he was like, but this does give you the flexibility if other things happen, if your circumstances change, and you can actually overpay more. You know what I mean? Like you could overpay more than what the shorter term would kind of give you. So actually you have all of it's basically like it's all the same.
Yeah.
Really badly explained. But yeah, exactly. So I think, perhaps the headline is a bit kind of scary and be like older people on a limited income taking their mortgage into retirement, but essentially we kind of don't know what their approach to these mortgages are. They might be kind of trying to give themselves the breathing space to the standard breathing space, and then they can kind of overpay as and when they need to. So yeah.
Last story before we get on to our deals of the week is something that's just come through and been confirmed just as we're recording this. And this is around a merger between two of the big four networks, mobile networks. Vodafone and Three will become one big company. They'll become the largest mobile phone company in the UK. And it's taken a while for the CMA, the Competition and Markets Authority, to approve this. But they've done it on the basis that there's a commitment to invest in the network. So in theory, they combine resources, and power will make it better for consumers. Essentially making it, our reception improve a lot. And that could well be true, just on the basis of, there are only 4 mobile phone signals as well. Remember that. There's EE, O2, Vodafone, and 3. Now, and this might not be how they do it, but if it becomes a situation where Vodafone and 3 customers can access each other's networks, that's going to increase massively the reach that you'll get if you're on one of those networks. So that would be great if that does come along. But the fear is, obviously, with all these things, is if there's less competition, particularly at the top, and also maybe lower down, because they might be less favourable to some of the smaller companies who piggyback on the back of their signals. Could that mean an increase in prices for us as customers? I mean, it's too early to say. We don't know. But the CMA say no. The trade unions are saying yes, it will.
Yeah, I'm deeply suspicious of this. It wasn't that long ago that, we were talking about it really being bad for customers, and competition. And suddenly, I mean, of course, the head of Vodafone, the big boss of Vodafone, is going to say, no, guys, it's going to be okay, I promise. Like, I'm not convinced. But they did say in that article that it's going to take years for us to kind of understand any repercussions if they kind of do occur. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, as I said, with these things, it does just feel like the 2 school bullies have joined forces. So yeah, I don't know. I'll sit here in my suspicious state.
There might be some perks that go, so again, it's about tying things together. And although I think Vodafone and 3 won't work in the same way because they're offering the same service, but the Virgin Media and O2 one that's come along, if you are a customer of both of those, there are a number of advantages. So you get double the data on your mobile phone, you get an extra speed bump on your broadband. There are perks that can come with that. When BT bought EE, again, they sort of package things together there might be discounts available to you. But there also is the flip side that you get tied into these 2 services at the same time, and it makes it harder for you to shop around on one because you're reliant on having one over the other. So yeah, you're right. It could go, let's be open. Let's see what happens.
I love how you came with the receipts there. You're like, look what happened in the past.
So before we get into our deals of the week, it's just another request for you guys to let us know your best and worst of credit cards, current accounts, and savings accounts for 2024. We're compiling a kind of end of year list. I love those things. All the TV and book ones and film ones are coming out right now. So we want to do that, what you think are the best of those different accounts, and the worst as well. Let people know which ones that you possibly should be avoiding. The deadline to let us know is this Sunday, the 8th of December. The way to do it is head to becleverwithyourcash.com/2024, just the numbers 2024, and that will take you through all the links you've got there and how to vote and take part. And if you do, one lucky person will be entered into, you will be entered into the prize draw, but one of you will win a £250 gift voucher as well. So not only be helping other people by voting, but you might win as well. So Amelia, what deals have you got for us?
Christmas freebies, top deal. So a number of shops and other providers, so John Lewis, Lidl, Selfridges, Morrison's, Boots, O2 and Nectar are running these like advent calendar rewards days. So essentially, if you have the app already, or if you're a member of the loyalty scheme, you just go onto the app each day, shake your phone or click on something and just unwrap this reward. So some are better than others. I downloaded the John Lewis app. I don't live near a John Lewis. But the first day it was like a free box of fancy chocolates. And I was just like, yes. And then I was like, no. Delighted for everyone who lives near John Lewis. I just had to watch the chocolates run out. So that's really good. Lidl, not that impressed. I mean, it's like 20% off things I wouldn't eat or buy anyway, marzipan. Not for me. But definitely worth downloading the app just to see, there's also, competitions and those kind of things that you can get entry to, high value prizes, those kind of things. And yeah, it's not going to cost you anything. So it's a good deal, I think. Very Christmassy.
Definitely. I mean, things have changed. There used to be a lot more of these. But I remember when I first started Be Clever With Your Cash, like 10 years ago or so, that first year I entered one of these advent calendars and won a weekend in Paris. So, the prizes are there. So it's worth being in it, and you never know. It just takes a few seconds when you're on the bus or whatever, just click in and see what you've got. But like you, I don't have a John Lewis near me. So those posh chocolates kind of off they went to everyone else because only 2 days to redeem them. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Selfridges has like a live event thing, so you'll get freebies as part of like a daily workshop, which to me sounds like hell, like a busy shop and being there doing things. But it might be up your street. Um, Next for me, Co-op is running an offer where you can get £5 off 3 bottles of wine, and this is for members of their loyalty scheme. It only applies to selected bottles of wine. These are ranging from between £7 and around £7.85. So it's essentially like a 23% discount, and the offer ends 3rd of January next year. And then finally, Chocomel. Chocomel. So I thought Chocomel was like a chocolate milkshake, but they've just launched a hot chocolate version. So it's like a carton of hot chocolate. You can claim a free 750 milliliter carton. You claim it online. We've got a link on becleverwithyourcash.com, and you enter your phone number and you'll get a text message which gives you all the details of how to claim it. And then essentially you go buy it from Sainsbury's or Tesco, take a picture of your receipt, and then you claim the money back. So you have 7 days from signing up to collect, well, to buy the carton of, I'm going to say, yeah, hot chocolate carton. And the offer runs until the 16th of December or until 7,000 cartons have been claimed.
fantastic. I've got a last minute klaxon for you, last chance klaxon, because there are 2 offers which are disappearing. One of them is the £200 bank switching deal from Lloyds Bank. We know this one is ending on Tuesday, the 10th of December. If you haven't taken advantage of it, it's a good one to go for, because not only do you get that £200, which is more than you can get anywhere else, but you can also get free Disney Plus or free cinema tickets. There's a decent fixed regular saver that comes with it. So I think it's definitely worth having a look. Full analysis, we've already covered it. So there's an article on the website, a video on YouTube. We've also talked about it in the podcast. So you can get all the details to check you're eligible and what you need to do. I also wouldn't be surprised that when this one ends, this is the only one that's published its end date, that some of the other switches also start to disappear, particularly as we go up to Christmas. So if there are ones you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do that, I'll get around to it, I haven't got around to it, I would do it over the next few days just to be sure. That you don't miss out. The other deal that is actually ending midday on Friday, so you really don't have much time to do this one if you can take advantage. This is a £100 bonus if you save £10,000 for 6 months with the Savings Marketplace Raisin. They've got a number of accounts in there. You can choose them from easy access to fixes to notice accounts, but you have to keep, whichever one you go, it has to be in there for 6 months. But if you do have 10K and you don't need it for 6 months, that will give you the best possible rate out there right now. Potentially on a 6-month fix, the equivalent of 6.7%, which is obviously very, very nice. And the last one to touch on, just very briefly, it's kind of a deal. This is a number of energy companies who are giving away, they're not charging for electricity on certain days in December. A lot of them, it's just Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and it might be completely free between, I don't know, 11 and 4 or something like that. Some of the others, such as British Gas, are giving you half price between those days, but also doing it on a Sunday. So just have a look, see what your energy company, if they are doing anything like this. We've actually got a list of them over on Be Clever Your Cash, and it might be that, it's not going to be life-changing, but if you can put the dishwasher on or whatever it is you need to do in those hours on those days, it will save you a little bit of money.
Tumble dry everything.
So that is it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want more information about any of those deals just now, or the stories that we spoke about earlier on, you will find all the links over at Be Clever with Your Cash.
Tuesday morning. So see you then.
Cheers.